Hey, you. Don't worry, I won't ask you to stop right there or threaten you not to scroll. But I will say this, there are no hashtags, and I specifically asked Spirit to guide this message to those who were meant to hear it. And here you are. If you choose to stay, that is completely up to you. However, there are no coincidences, and everything happens exactly the way it should. Do with that information as you may. And for those of you who've chosen to stick around, let's get into it. The title of today's channeled message is You Already Have the Ingredients to Your Abundance. The question is, where are they? I can assure you, Alexa cannot answer this question for you. Trust I've asked. Let me stop. But seriously, Spirit has already given you the recipe to your abundance. But it is your job to mix the ingredients and do the work. So, what's stopping you from making your way into the kitchen? I'm in mine, not doing anything, but that's beside the point. I know. Some of us cannot cook a pot of rice, but come on now. By the way, I'm not judging. I dreaded the kitchen for years in a desperate attempt to rebel against sexism and outdated beliefs. But I digress. I've slowly made my way back into the kitchen, and believe it or not, we've actually become close friends. Anywho, back to the subject at hand. I'm sure you've heard the term you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. This applies in the spirit realm as well. Many times we find ourselves complaining about our current situations, knowing we've only made one or two attempts, if that, to improve our circumstances. Then we consider ourselves having valid reasons to whine and complain as to why things haven't worked in our favor. The truth is, most of us have obtained the recipe to our abundance, but we are waiting for a tall glass of water to show up and mix the ingredients. We've sat back and watched others chase their dreams and receive their abundance while silently judging because our fragile egos can't fathom the fact that others have actually worked to get where they are in life. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of people out there who have received their abundance on a silver platter, but you better believe someone is working relentlessly behind the scenes in order for it to flourish. And guess what? While you're judging, you're missing the point. Majority of the people you're gossiping about have tirelessly broken their backs, worked late nights, missed quality time with family, and even cried themselves to sleep at night trying to work through generational trauma just to receive their abundance. I'll give you an example. Around the age of 5, I prayed my home situation would change for the better. I'll keep my prayer to myself because that's my business, but I will say this. When Spirit answers your prayer, you'll be presented with the recipe to your abundance, but it's up to you to get your butt in the kitchen and start cooking. Looking back, I now realize Spirit revealed the recipe to my abundance around the age of 16. Obviously, at the time, I did not realize my prayers were being answered. However, I never questioned the fact I felt drawn toward becoming a CNA while I was in high school. I just knew I was passionate about helping others, but I would later come to find the redirection was the first ingredient to my abundance. My passion to help others only grew while working at a nursing home, only to soon find myself reporting a nurse for elderly abuse. Here I was, humming and skipping through the hallways, making my way towards my favorite patient, only to find out she was bawling her eyes out for the past 3 hours. I was preparing to give her a bath, but I refused to begin without consoling her. It wasn't until I promised to keep her secret that she revealed her nurse had been rubbing fiberglass on her bottom, which I later discovered was beginning to strip her bottom raw. This was all done in an attempt to teach the patient a lesson for doing something as natural as going to the bathroom. Apparently, this nurse came to the conclusion the patient needed permission to do that. Honey, when I tell you smoke was coming out of my ears, I didn't know whether to cry or snatch that nurse's wig. Thankfully, I made the right decision and used my anger as fuel to report her immediately. Shortly after my suspicions were confirmed, she was fired on the spot. Now, I'm all for a slap on the wrist. However, if you're incapable of treating others with respect and dignity, you probably shouldn't be working in healthcare. Anyways, a few years later, I received the second ingredient to my abundance when I joined the Air Force as a cardiopulmonary technician. I was transporting critically ill patients from point A to point B. I thoroughly enjoyed providing patient care. However, after 8 years, I transferred to a medical administrative position to administer care from an outpatient perspective due to my heightened sensitivity to others' pain. Little did I know, Spirit was providing me with ingredients to my recipe all along by guiding me towards my purpose. During this time, I created a blog and then an empowerment page, which allowed me to continue doing what I love, which was assisting others on their healing journeys. Realizing there were thousands of people needing to hear my truth only provided more ingredients to my recipe, but there were also difficult lessons I had to learn along the way. Spirit will guide you to the recipe for your abundance, but you will be required to do the work. Spirit will also ensure necessary lessons are learned prior to gifting you your abundance to ensure you're capable of protecting it. Let's be honest, if Spirit gifted you your abundance without teaching you how to maintain it, you'd blow it. For instance, I had to learn the hard way that not everyone would be able to accompany me on my journey, that some were simply riding my coattail to benefit from my efforts. This was a very difficult lesson to learn, especially since letting go of people further triggered my childhood trauma. I also had to learn there were people preying on my perceived weaknesses, hoping my unhealed trauma would prevent me from walking away from their toxicity. If you want your abundance, you will have to work for it. Spirit needed me to be strong enough to release the toxic people in my life in order to receive my abundance, and I am very thankful I loved myself enough to walk away. I had to learn the hard way that not everyone would be happy for me, and some, to include friends, family, and significant others, would attempt to instill fear or place doubt within me because they were incapable of moving past their own. I had to learn that I was different from so many people, and a lot of people didn't have as big a heart as I do. I had to learn to be okay with the only giving to people that were kind enough not to take my kindness as a weakness. I was made aware that my gifts as a healer were being abused by those who assumed it was my job to do their healing work for them, while secretly stabbing me in the back. I had to break free from generational trauma, fears, toxicity, pain, all of this in order to receive my abundance. So the next time you turn your nose up at someone who's received their abundance, the abundance you were not privy to see them work tirelessly for, the abundance you assume they do not deserve, the abundance your ego won't allow you to perceive because why them and not me? Be careful with that mindset because you did not do the work for them. You didn't console them when they missed important events. You weren't a phone call away when they needed to vent. And even if you were, you and I both know you were barely listening because you were too busy thinking about yourself. You did not make the necessary sacrifices. You did not heal your trauma in order to receive your abundance. And until you do, you will not. You are not entitled to anyone's abundance except your own. And gossiping will win you the worst kind of karma, honey. You do not want that smoke. Spend more time focusing on you and your abundance. Work through and heal your trauma. Fine-tune your recipe. Mix your ingredients and step into that kitchen like a boss. If I can do it, so can you. It took me years to make room for my abundance, but I did it without assistance, and I can assure you, there is no one walking this green earth who can take credit for the work I've done because my recipe looks nothing like theirs. Moral of the story, if you want to receive your abundance, complete emotional fulfillment, inner peace, happiness, and financial freedom, you must spend more time in the kitchen doing the work and looking within, and a lot less time wondering what others did or did not do to receive theirs. I truly hope this message helps. If you'd like to hear more, please feel free to follow my TikTok, join my Queen Evolve Facebook group, or subscribe to my blog or YouTube channel by clicking the link in my bio. Until next time, I wish you all the best and wish you peace, blessings, love, and light. Bye.